know
This
a secret.
conference will now be recorded.
So it went back to our Excel. How badly do we need that word? See, that's where it's given us trouble. Got it. Nobody move. Okay, let's pretend, actually, let's just look forward in history about 20 minutes. And you have now just heard the best tax protest presentation you've ever heard in your life. And let's give it up for Mr. Bob Ochterbeck.
All right. Well, greetings, everyone. This is the second time I've done this presentation. And the first time I did this presentation, I learned something, and that is that there's only one thing worse than glassy-eyed realtors. That's glassy-eyed clients. So I was trying to cover all the details of how to do what I do, and I lost a lot of people. So today I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Afterwards, if you want to meet with me, I can have a group meeting on going more into the details of what I do. But I first want to say that I'm not a tax professional. I'm a real estate agent. And so I've learned some things through the years in my business. It all started probably about 15 years ago for my own personal property taxes on my home. I wanted to hire an agent to, not an agent, a real estate agent, but you know, there's agents that actually do protest taxes for you. So I was going to hire this company, probably the biggest one, O'Connor and Associates, and I contacted them. And they sent me an email that had a spreadsheet on it, kind of explained how they did the process. I thought, oh, thank you. So I took that spreadsheet and I made it my own and have used it for many years on my own personal taxes, and I've used it for my clients too, to help them in their ability to protest their taxes. Now, first of all, I've only used it in Montgomery County. Will my system work in Harris County or Walker County? Probably, but I've never done that. I've never protested in Harris, just Montgomery County. So everything I'm sharing with you pertains to Montgomery County. The next thing is, and this is kind of the key to what I do. Okay, this is how I protest. Well, let me give you a story. There were these two guys. They were in the woods, and they came upon a grizzly bear. And one of the guys sat down and immediately started putting on his tennis shoes. And his buddy said, "It's kind of dumb. You're not going to be able to outrun a grizzly bear." He said, "I don't have to. I just have to outrun you." So keep in mind, to me, the grizzly bear is market price. Okay, the market price of a home. Well, as we know through years of being in real estate, typically the assessed price from the county is almost always less than actual market value, right? I mean, it's gotten closer through the years, but it's still typically less. So I found that I would strike out if I tried to protest my taxes based on market value, because typically what they were assessing was less than what my market value was. And I tried to say, well, I'm on a busy street, or there's a telephone pole behind my house, or any of that thing, and they nod their head and say, "No, sorry, you know, no discount." Well, what I learned was that I can't outrun the grizzly bear, so I can't beat them based on market value, but I can beat them by comparing my home with others that have been assessed in my neighborhood. So what I began doing was I would I'd run a spreadsheet and I would pull all the properties in my neighborhood, and then I would break those out into price per square foot of the appraised value. I'm sorry, the assessed value. Okay, that's what the county says that theirs is worth. And lo and behold, I found quite a discrepancy between what mine was assessed at versus similar properties in my neighborhood that were assessed lower. So I would get the full list of the neighborhood, whatever that was, or some area of what I called comps, and I would pull out all, and I'd sort it out so that I would sort it based on the ones that were the lowest price per square foot and compared it to mine. And typically I'd find 3, 4, 5 properties. You have a question, or? I'm getting there. Yeah. I'd find 3 or 4 or 5 properties that were lower in assessed value than mine. And so then that's what I would base my protest on. Okay. And I'll kind of go through how I do that. But again, that's where I got bogged down last time, because it's quite a task to do it. And it depends on the neighborhood, but I'm going to give you what I do. If it can help you, great. Again, if you have more questions or you want to see more detail, then we can set up a time and meet with you later. Okay, this is the process that I've put together here. Basically, it starts out by you'll get your notification. Well, first you get your rendition from the county and you look at it, and after picking yourself up off the ground by what they've done to increase your taxes, and you say, this is ridiculous. And of course, it's probably $50,000 or more or less than what your actual market value is, but that doesn't matter. It's just not right. And so that's what would begin, that you would file the protest. Now, one thing I recommend is to wait as long as possible to protest. And the reason that you want to wait to file for the protest as late as possible is to try to put you at the end of the list of people that are protesting their taxes. Because the later that you are in your protest is scheduled, the more other protests have been resolved. And typically, are they going to be resolved higher than other assessed values? No, they're assessed lower. So now you're comparing with even lower price per square foot comps in your neighborhood. So you want to be at the end. That's one reason. Another reason is usually by then the county folks are kind of like, let's just get through this. When it's early in the season, they're all aggressive and they're ready to, oh no, we'll get them, we'll beat them. But by the end, they're kind of beat down a little bit. So they tend to be a little more agreeable. Okay, so you've now made your protest and filed for your protest. Then you'll receive notification of a date and time for your protest. And what you'll do is you'll bring, and I'll flip over to the spreadsheet and you'll see it in a minute. You'll bring at least 5 copies of that. Why do you bring 5 copies? So that you can hand it out to everybody that's at the meeting. Now, the way the process works in Montgomery County is when your time is scheduled and you show up, you meet one-on-one with what I call the county appraisal representative. And they will then sit down, you'll meet them at their desk, and they've got their computer and they've got pictures showing close-ups of your home and all the homes in the neighborhood. And they basically cut your ankles off, boom, right away, proving real quickly that your home market value is greater than the appraised assessed value that you got. So I always just smile at them, thank them very much, because you have to go through them first. And then I always appeal to the board. Some people don't. If in this one-on-one meeting you get some very favorable reduction in the assessed value, great, you can take it, sign off for it, and you're out of there. But I have found that typically it's always best to appeal to the board, and it's a board of your peers. These aren't county representatives, okay? So you go into the meeting then with a room with typically 4 people. It's a 3-person board of your peers and what I call the advocate for the county. And they're always mean looking and they're ready to jump all over you. So I just, like I said here, I practice looking humble, ignorant, and overwhelmed. Yeah, you just walk in like, I'm just a beat up citizen homeowner, could barely scratch enough to pay my mortgage. And now you're doing this to me. How do I lower this? There it goes. What's that? Yeah, right. Oh, I never let them know I'm an agent. Never. I did that one year when I was new as an agent. And I thought, yeah, they'll respect me. Oh no, it's almost like, we'll get this guy. So I don't ever do that. Yeah, in fact, kind of the grubbier the better. Of course, if you live in Carlton Woods or something, it's a little tough to look grubby, but okay. So then they ask you, do you want to go first and let the advocate go second, or you go second and advocate? I always go last. I want them to make their case. And typically when that advocate is making their case on your property, goes through all this stuff and just hammers you and proves all the reasons why the assessed value is very is the correct value. In fact, it's probably way too low. It should be higher. And you just sit there just quietly, let them make their case, let them beat you up. And then it's your turn. You hand out your spreadsheet copies to each member of the board, begin to make your case. And I'll say something like, I just looked online at some homes similar to mine in my neighborhood, and the values I saw they were assessed at were just seemed like mine should be in line with theirs. They seem to be a whole lot less than mine. And because I have the spreadsheet, I point to the illustration of what I'm showing there. And so when typically what I have found, almost inevitably, you'll get some discount from the board. The board, they're looking at you and they're seeing your numbers. They've never checked it. They've never gone, oh, let's look at all these properties. They don't. They just look at it. They talk amongst themselves, and they always, well, at least for me, they've always given me a break. And for my clients that I've done it for, they typically give them a break. Although in some cases, my clients have accepted maybe less than I would have accepted, but they still got a better price, better deal assessment. So it tends to have worked. In fact, my favorite example was 2 years ago, I believe it was. I have a client who had a house that was appraised for like 1.25 million, and my number was 1.075 was what I came up with my comps. Well, he had already hired an agency to do the presentation. So when they did their presentation, they took my information in and got it to 1075. So I'm like, okay, thank you very much. And they thanked me very much because they got to split the savings. By the way, that's how that works. If you hire an agency, that they will typically split the savings with you. So you end up paying them for half or 40% or what. They pull up their comps that they have from the neighborhood. Yeah, typically it's sold comps. Yeah. And keep in mind there is a time factor involved, because it's not a matter of what happened. You're probably in June or so when you're actually sitting before them, but they're not looking at June numbers. Keep that in mind. If you are going to fight them based on market price, okay, don't use June numbers, use January. It's as of January 1st, right? So you want to at least comp with January 1st numbers. But in my case, it doesn't matter, because it's whatever the assessed value is, and it is published. The assessed value of other homes in your neighborhood is published. They are published. So when it's all over with, then you thank them very much, you sign off, and you walk out with hopefully a savings on your oh no, they'll tell you right then. They'll talk among themselves and decide on a number. Yeah, then that's pretty much what it is. When you appeal to that board, you're saying, this is kind of like arbitration. This is it. We're going with whatever your number is. And but I have found that these are your peers. They're not these highfalutin. They're usually retirees, and most of them are just super nice. And that's why I try, like I said, I try to act humble and Okay, here's a sample copy of the spreadsheet that I took from O'Connor. If you notice right here in red, that's not typically what I do. I don't have a red, but I'm doing that just to highlight that what right there, that red number right there is the was the assessed value for this home last year. Okay, and if you look at my number, what I was basing my protest on was this what is it, 1.126, that number down there. That's what I came up with. Well, not a whole lot. It's about 100,000 less, but on 1.2 million, that's not a whole lot, but that's what my comp showed. And you can see right here, there's 4 comps, 147 waterfront, 43 Lake Estates, 23 Lake Estates, 191 waterfront, all for this property right here. By the way, I'm listing this property this week. If anybody has a client want to buy a house, let's talk. You'll get preferential treatment. I am, yes. But again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. When I did that last time, I lost a lot of people. So, but this is the spreadsheet, and you enter this information taken from the printouts that you make. For example, here's a printout, and what we have to do is there's 2 sources of the data. One is MCAD, okay, Montgomery County Appraisal District's numbers. You can pull up, if you go into the MCAD website, you can put in a property address and it'll pull up the tax record for that address. But you can also pull up like the subdivision and it'll pull them all up. Okay, so you can either do it by subdivision, like I could put in here the estates of Walden, and it would pull up all properties in the estates of Walden. Or you can put in the tax number, 954. Well, here, what is the tax number here? For the property, you can put in like the R number or the 11-digit number. You can put that in. You can put in like the first 6 numbers of that, and it'll pull all of them up, typically for the neighborhood. All right, so then you'll export that. So now you've got your database. Unfortunately, though, it shows the assessed value for the property, but it does not show the square footage. So then I'll go into HAR, MLS, and go into Real List and pull up the same properties, neighborhood, and export that, and I'll match them in a spreadsheet, and that's what I've done. Let's see, I think I have a sample copy of that. I'll match them in a spreadsheet. Get it. Bear with me, folks. Oh, absolutely, sure, yeah. There is my spreadsheet. Well, I was just going to show how I take the left-hand side was the MCAD, and the right-hand side is the Real List, and I'll put them together so that I can put the square footage with the assessed value, and that's how you divide it out to get the price per square foot or the assessed value per square foot. Then I'll just sort it where the lowest price per square foot homes are the ones I start with. And I see, are they reasonable comps? And I'm just going to tell you, when I first started this, I made sure it's a real good comp, real close to what my property is. Through the years, I've learned just get the lowest ones. And unless it's absolutely not comparable at all, like if you've got a lakefront and this one's in the sticks or something, if it's comparable at all, use it. They don't go in and double check, oh, that's not a real good comp. Or maybe the advocate might look at them, but I've never had an issue with it. So look for the lowest comps, plug those into your spreadsheet. And once you plug them into your spreadsheet, it'll tell you what price it recommends as a proposed price. Okay, and that's the spreadsheet I give to everybody there and explain, here's some comps for my neighborhood on my property, and they're assessed less. For example, in this example, there's 148.61, 132.21, 139.10, and we were assessed at 168.44. So you can see quite a bit of difference here. It's not, you know how much lower those are in the neighborhood? That's what they're assessed at. So we lay that before them and then they make their decision. Typically, they give us a discount. Okay, any questions on kind of what I did? I know I didn't cover exactly how I pulled all the data and put it together in the spreadsheet and sorted it. But what I've done for my clients, I will do this for my clients. I will do the work. And let me just say one more thing. There have been times when it's a loser. In other words, they're getting the lowest or real close to the lowest, where I'm just telling you, if there's not quite a bit of, at least maybe $20,000, because when you think about it, times the appraised amount, it could be pennies on the dollar. So it may not be worth protesting, but, or you may be the lowest one. Hallelujah. That's great. You find that out. So this is the system I use. Ryan?
Well, I've got two questions for you. Number one, I know right now when we get into our HVAC, we do 2020 numbers as well as those 2021 numbers. Are you pulling the numbers based on which year?
2021, current.
2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if the tax districts are allowed to increase up to 10% a year, how often have you come across like, no, we're less than 10%, no way?
As you mean as their argument?
Yeah.
I haven't had a problem with that at all. I really haven't. And like I said, I've done this a lot for my clients, and there have been a handful of them that I just tell them, you're right at the bottom. My system, you can't really protest. Now, one last thing too is there may be cases where you're messing up, yeah. Where was it? Where, yeah, like I said, that they may think that they're lowest, or you can help your clients even more. You ask them, what issues about your home could reduce the value? For example, they may back up to a bayou, or there may be those super power lines. I mean, any of that, those are good to have too, because you want to add as much, to make your home as ugly as possible to them, to devalue it. Okay, does that make sense? So in addition to just the numbers, you want to devalue your home as much as possible. Yeah, that's it. Put that out or let you do it? I'll close it.
Oh, I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When he protests, for this, he discloses that he's an agent to them?
No.
The answer was no. I didn't hear the question, but everybody shouted no in unison.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. 1 second. I'm going to do this properly. Checked. Okay, you're good to go. And one more. By the way, is it possible to protest these taxes if the actual market value is higher than the assessed value? Was anybody listening? That was the big takeaway for me, Bob. That's why I've never.
I don't have that clear, but it's a good question.
Yes, that's why I've never protested my taxes, is I always felt like the assessed value was lower than market. But now I know that's irrelevant. If I'm lower than comparable assessed values, then we can move forward. I'm getting the same trouble. It's not wanting to read your flash. Oh, is that what you put them on?
Yeah.
Let's see. Go. Okay, now let's just make sure that they're seeing the same thing. They're not. So let me go here and share again. Push play. Yes. Just a moment here. So let me make one more comment before Trina comes up. The entire point of this presentation today is not to teach you how to be tax protest experts for its own sake. The point is, how can we position ourselves as neighborhood real estate experts in a way that's going to demonstrate value to the homeowners in our neighborhood? And by offering this service through social media and through your direct mail marketing and your conversations in the neighborhood, you will dramatically elevate your status as the real estate agent who really knows the neighborhood. That's the point. And Trina, though she may not have planned to, is going to share with you some of the impact that offering this to her neighborhood has had on her sales results. Right, Trina? Okay, thank you, Trina. Take it away.
Okay, so to build on what Frank was saying, I started at Abbey back in 2018, and my husband protests his taxes every year. They lower our taxes and he protests them because they didn't lower them enough. So one year, so I'm doing what Frank's telling us to do, and I'm going to classes and training, and then a year later, this epiphany happens. My husband's like harping about our tax appraisal. And I thought like, well, he goes to the meetings every year. He gets more and more information every year. And I just thought like, well, what if I just offered this information basically to my subdivision and see what happens? And it has been the single most influential factor that has changed the trajectory of my business. So with that said, this doesn't just have to be a geo-farming thing. This could be for your clients, and it is a meaningful way to provide value to your clients and all your potential clients, because what you'll find is that when you give, people want the opportunity to give back. So on my subdivision, our Facebook page is very, very active. And every opportunity that you'll say, someone will ask for a realtor, you'll see my name come up 10 to 20 times with people referring me because they've already had a positive interaction with me in a meaningful way. So tax appraisal protests 101. I actually do it completely opposite than Bob, which I really appreciate because this is about building a case, and there are lots of different ways to build your case. You're just doing this so that your client can win. So our goal is to help our clients and our potential clients save money using the sales of the neighborhood. And the value of this is it's an opportunity for us to show our expertise and professionalism and connect in a meaningful way. So we're not only are we providing this for them, but this is an opportunity for them to see like, yes, I am a legit professional and I can provide you professional information. So our taxing authority employees are just like you and me. So what Bob was saying is these people, the way I see it is when you go in, they want you to lower your appraisal. They don't want to go in there and be harped at every day. I mean, they sit in that desk all day and people are upset with them. They're unhappy. You just want to give them the information that they need so that you can win, right? So that's the goal, right? We want to make it easy for them to say yes. So what makes a successful protest? Bob just uses tax assessments. I actually use sales. That's where I'm comfortable. But when I start striking out, I go to realist tax and I start building my case. So that's what we can do. Like you have one tool here, and if that's not working for you, go a different way and find whatever you're the most comfortable with. But what makes a successful protest? It should be personalized, so it should be for ambiguous. This is about your house, and I'm providing comps specifically that make sense for you. It should be thorough. It should be thorough, and it should demonstrate the time and effort that you're putting into building the case. So again, the goal here is not so much to win. We want our clients and our potential clients to see the amount of energy that we are putting into them because we care about them, right? So our step one is we're going to gather information from your CRM. So I make my posts on Facebook and I'm asking you like, hey, send me your name, send me your email, send me your address. If I've got their name, I really don't need all that information, but I want it for my CRM, right? So, and then on top of that, every single person that gets a CMA from me gets a friend request from me. And the reason why is that as you're on the Facebook page and as our residents begin to interact with each other, you always see my name as a mutual friend. Trina Hoffland, Trina Hoffland, Trina Hoffland. There's my name and my face, and I am everywhere, all over my subdivision. Step 2 is you're going to gather your information from Montgomery County. So now we have our CRM. We got to go find our protest information. So you get the 2021 protest assessment. You're going to write down the square footage, the lot size, and then you want to know what the sales history is, only because if they purchased the home within the last year and that purchase price is lower than what their assessment is, slam dunk, easy peasy. Hey, so-and-so, go ahead and submit your closing docs to Montgomery County Appraisal, and they will lower your assessment to what your purchase price is. And then you're going to break all that information down into a price per square foot, just like what Bob did. Okay, so when you go to Montgomery County, this is what you see. This is kind of a cut up screenshot of it, but you can see on the left side, there's orange, 21 improvements, land segments. This is actually a property that I have currently on the market for sale. And so I'm using this house because it has a pool. But here, when I go to Montgomery County, what I'm looking for is the assessed value, the square footage, and then here, there's an improvement here for $25,000. This particular property has a pool, and post-COVID, we all know that pools have overly inflated the values for homes. So when I'm comparing a property with a pool versus a property without a pool, even a pool to pool, it's not apples to apples. But because Montgomery County has so tidily added the value of the pool, I can take that value out, and now I can compare this property to homes without pools. So I have $25,000 there. And then I'm going to take a note of the lot size, because there is value in the larger the lot and the lower the smaller lot. And then if you were to scroll further down, you'll see that there's a sales history under the orange column there. Okay, so price per square foot, the assessment, I'm just going to take the 331,000. I'm going to take out that pool. I divide it by square footage, and now I've got a target. And my target is 113.64. So whatever comps I'm pulling, I'm focusing on what can I get that's lower than that, right? All right, so now we're going to go to the matrix. Montgomery County focuses on the median value. So when you pull comps, they don't care what the average is. They want the median value of the comps you pull. And we want to arm our clients with meaningful comps. For me personally, I have not been successful by just doing a search and then pulling up the lowest price per square foot. And the reason for that is in my particular subdivision, we are one large subdivision, but there's all these different series of homes with different values to them. And I really want to arm my client with things that are meaningful. So if I know that these homes are really nicer than these homes, I'm going to compare this home with these homes, and I'm going to make my case around that, because I don't want to waste my client's time. And while I know Bob does a great job in arguing for his clients, my clients, most of them just want to do an online protest, which is not a good thing. And we'll go over that in a second, but I want to make it for them as easy as possible as they can get it. So I'm going to look for comparable comps, and I'm going to do my search all the way to January 1st of 2020, because they're really using the 2020 sold comps to come to this assessment. I'll include the comps after 2020 if it builds my case, but that's what I'm doing. I start small and then I go bigger if I need the more information to build my case. I exclude pools and new builds. I'm looking for similar square footage and similar amenities, similar year built, and I'm always focusing on that lower price per square foot. So this is my subdivision. When I just do the map tool, these are all the homes that have sold since January 1st. And I'm going to go ahead, and since this particular home's located in Meadows, I do a drawing tool, and I really just draw out the Meadows, because that is different than what's over here. This over here is the Pines, and I know that those are the same homes. So I'm using my map tool, and you'll see as you guys do this for your geo farms, for geofarming, you will become the expert. Like, it is natural. I know every street in my neighborhood, and that's the value also, is that you get to really, really understand your neighborhood. Okay, so here are the comps that I pulled up based on square footage. You can see I checked the top 3 and I skipped the 215 Hoffland Court. And the reason why I did that is because, one, the 120 does not help my case, the price per square foot. And it's got a really large lot, so I'm just gonna take it out. So then I clicked those 4, and this is my CMA, right? So I see, okay, here we go. I'm looking at number of garages. I'm looking at the year built. I'm looking at the lot size. And then I'm looking at, sometimes I'll look at the cumulative base of the market, because if you have a home that's assessed at a value, and say there's another house that's active on the market, it's got like 100 days in the market. I'm like, well, how can you possibly assess the home when we have this house here, it's the same house, and it hasn't sold in 100 days. So there's another reason to argue your case. And then I'm looking at the median value, which is 112.79. So yes, that's a little bit lower. Our number is 113.74. It's not as low as I'd like for it to be, but it is lower. So now I'm going to drill down on the CMA a little more. I see, okay, 2 of these houses have 2-car garages, which mine has a 2-car garage. And then they have 3 of them have a really small lot, just like mine. So the most comparable properties here, and then those both, coincidentally enough, had the lower price per square foot. So they really are the most comparable homes to my home, right? And I want to beat 113.74, so now I'm at 110.44. And so how does that translate to my client? When I add up the numbers, and then I multiply that times our tax rate, it's $8,000 in savings, which translates to $243 cash in their pocket. They don't think of it as like, oh, it's 240 bucks. It's a lot of time for me to go out there and protest my taxes. But they think, wow, you saved me $8,000 in taxes. So then I'll email them, and this is what I do. I send them a
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, is this better? The only thing that I change is the discussion for protest. And in there, it's very personal. I will go through everything that I did and why I did it and give them their case. So if they want to copy and paste that and put that in an online protest, they're more than welcome to do that. But I'll tell them, I highly recommend you protest in person. And then I kind of break down the process a little bit like what Bob says. Like, you go and protest. If you don't agree with the representative there, you can speak with the board and so on. And then after I send that email, I'll also attach my CMA, and then don't forget to attach your IABS form, because that is a real estate interaction. And then, so not everybody lives in a cookie cutter neighborhood like I do. Some of you guys live in the Woodlands. There are other things that you can do to depreciate the value of your home. So get quotes for the following items from contractors in advance of your meeting. Water damage. We just had the winter storm. If the home has water damage, bring photos, bring a bid for repair, foundation, roof, concrete, driveways, termite damage, plumbing, cracks and sheetrock, electrical, rotten siding, all of that stuff lowers the value of the home. So if you bring bids for that to your meeting, they will lower, you can win your tax appraisal fight that way also. Other factors that do not depreciate the value, they don't care if your AC's old. They don't care if your water heater's not working. They don't care if if grandma's been in the home for 40 years and all of the houses have been flipped around her, or they don't care that you're the only one without granite. They don't care about any of that. So don't fool with it. It's a losing battle. And then, so sometimes, just like what Bob said, you can't always find the comps to support your case. If that's okay, I would provide the comps that I'm seeing. So like, hey, bad news, I can't help you with your tax appraisal, but good news is that your home is the homes have sold really well in your neighborhood. So I'll provide them the comp, so at least they can see what I'm seeing. And then I explain to them everything that I did to try to help them. So at least they see that I still invested time and energy into them. And then I'll refer them another company to say, hey, even though I can't help you, maybe this company can. So, and that's it. Any questions?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes.
For example, how much money would you actually protest? Like if it goes over, like what would be that number? And you know, to be worth it.
That's up to my client. If they don't give me a target number, I'm just there to lower the value. And it's up to them if they want to pursue that or not. I do not charge them. I do not go with them. I am just available to provide them the information and talk with them afterwards. They can call me before their meetings. They call me afterwards. A lot of them just, they really actually enjoy it. I'm surprised that a lot of people that actually enjoy like talking about their houses. So it's kind of cute. And there was another question. Okay. Right. So the question is, what company would I refer them? You just asked. I would just send them to like a professional tax appraisal protest company. There are companies that do that. Somebody on my Facebook page commented, so I just went to the website, copied the link, and included it in my email. If that's what they want to do. Thank you, Bobby Lynn. Yes, ma'am. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't. The question is, would I invest time to somehow provide some of this information via mail versus just Facebook? I think so. I think I'm not a super numbers person, but I do like graphs. I feel like graphs help give people a snapshot of what things are. And, you know, the only thing I would say is that now is the time, you guys. People are opening their mail, they're seeing their appraisals, and sending something out a month from now is going to be, you know, as long as you get it there before the deadline, but really now is the time, because this is when people are talking about it and they're having a lot of energy around that. So I think we all just got our protests, right? So, and I think you have what, until May 30th? I think it's May 30th that the deadline is. And then you'll have people that will delay their protest. So it still trickles in. And then I ask them, oh, and this is very, very important. So if I get a Facebook, they send me a PM and I get all of their information. I'll send them the email, but then I go back to the Facebook message and I'll tell them, I just emailed you your tax appraisal protest. Please let me know if you have any questions. And if you or anyone you know ever have a real estate need, I'd love the opportunity to help. I say it in my email, I say it in my PM, I say it every chance I get. So that way they know, hey, it's a very soft way for them to know, why am I really doing this? I'm doing this to help you, so you help me, you know, like, mm-hmm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually, you know what I did last year is I went on, I don't know if you're of a Canva account, but I found I found a cute little image of a guy who's just like, oh, he's just like so frustrated, and it's just so different than what other people post. And I just said, hey, you know, does anybody need help with their tax appraisals? If your tax appraisal is high, I'd love to help you protest and bring that down. And let's all keep the subdivision of taxes low. And the thing is people that are looking to sell are not thinking about fighting their taxes. It's kind of a long-term strategy. But what happens is the people that care the most about their tax appraisals are the people with the highest, you know, value homes. And then you're working with them year after year. And if they lower it this year, guess what? They're probably going to have to do it again the next year because they're already going to be on the lower side of the appraisal. So now you have somebody coming to you year over year, and you're helping them in a really meaningful way. So, yes. Okay, good question. Because it's easy just to say denied versus you can sit down with somebody and you can explain to them what your argument is, right? So I've got a case, and then if they say no, they'll say no. A lot of times they say no, and then I'll say, okay, can you show me the comps that you were using to value my home? Where these are sold comps of my subdivision of similar properties. What are your comps? And then you can pick that apart. Most of my people that live in my subdivision, they aren't even that savvy in our own subdivision. That's why I'm telling them in my email, these are the single most comparable properties for you. You can't be compared. Oak Estates cannot be compared to, you know, the Gardens or whatever, right? Well, it would be nice to have as many as you can get, but whatever it takes to build your case, right? And I don't want them to waste their time. Like, I don't want them to go there and then the guy's like, what are you talking about? This is like completely not the same house. So I try to help them find comparable homes. Yes. Any suggestions on comping a custom home? Probably the way Bob does it would be better, unless you have custom home to custom home and you have a neighborhood that's got a value range around the same time. Your representative does not know the details of that custom home. Well, this is basically what we do for a living, but rather than focusing and understanding that house and the value of that house, we just try to do it in reverse. We say, okay, well, I can just look at the numbers and decide the value of the house rather than focus on what's inside of it.
Bob has a comment, and I'd like it to be on the record. Okay, hold on, Bob's turn.
Frank would tell you I'm a grammar Nazi, so I think it's important to understand there's three terms to remember. One is rendition. That's when you get your actual assessment. The second word is assessment. These are not appraisals. We always say appraisal. It's a habit. It's easy to say. They're not. We know what an appraisal is. Keep in mind it's an assessment. So that's what they're telling you the value is. So the rendition is what you get in the mail telling you what it is. Assessment is what they're saying the value is. And an appraisal, you know, is technically actual market value.
I'm using sales from January 1st of 2020. Right, so next year, my guess is we're gonna strike down and out like crazy, but this year you can still come up. We can have a really solid case this year. Don't forget about what happened between, you know, February and May last year, or March and May. There was just nothing happening in real estate, and then it took a bit to kick off. Okay, hold on.
Thank you, Trina. And I realize there may be more questions in the room, there may be more questions online, but we have used up our allotted time, and I want to respect that. Instead of everybody starting to drift out, we'll go out with a sense of victory and conquering. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate your expertise. Thank you, Trina. Congratulations to all of our top producers. If you are a team leader, stay in this room. The meeting will be here. If you are not a team leader, where are we going to go to lunch? Thank you, Bob. You and I are going to go have lunch. Anybody else? We're going to Olive Oil right down on Sawdust. Thank you so much for being here, all 402 of you. God bless.